All right, folks, welcome back to All the Basses. Today we are diving into the Soviet era of guitar manufacturing. I'm pretty excited about this. I've been keeping an eye on a few different models for a long time. This brand is called Jolana, and it was made in Czechoslovakia. The bass is called the Iris, and I am a total sucker for a Telecaster-inspired bass guitar. Guitar manufacturing goes back to the mid-50s in Czechoslovakia. One popular brand that came out of that region was called Resonette, and you can see the likes of Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page, and even George Harrison playing some of these guitars in the UK in the 60s. Fast forward to about 1974, that's when this bass was introduced. The Jolana brand has a bunch of different models out there. One of my favorites is the Diamond, which is a Les Paul inspired bass. I've been trying to track down one of those for a while. They had some super cool kind of Jaguar-esque shapes, a couple of hollow bodies, semi-hollow body instruments. Quick aside, Czechoslovakia today is the Czech Republic and Slovakia. However, up until the late 80s, it was under Soviet rule, making this a Soviet era instrument. I think some of the Soviet era instruments get a bad rap. They're not always made of the highest quality materials. However, they're pretty cool and they can still be had for super cheap these days. And despite sort of the rough edges on this instrument, it actually plays really well, it sounds really great, and it feels good too. So let's go over some of the features of this particular instrument. It has a bolt neck, it is short scale. We've got a really fat D profile, but it's actually pretty comfortable. I can't really tell what kind of wood the neck is made of. I'm assuming it's some sort of ply based on some of the witness lines I can see on the finish here. And it is also painted right up to the edges of the fingerboard. However, the fingerboard looks like some sort of maybe, you know, Indian rosewood or something of that nature. It's a pretty nice piece. The fretwork is clean. We've got a 0 fret here. Closed gear tuners that actually work surprisingly well. They're very stable, they're very smooth. Not always the case with these instruments. We've got this towel bar here holding the strings down. Spoke wheel adjustment for the truss rod. That's pretty advanced for an instrument of this caliber. Works really well. We've got this armrest here, handrest, whatever you want to call it, nothing going on under there. We've got this 2-post bridge here with these sort of roller saddles. It's a very simple but effective design. I like that with these big chunky thumb screws, you can actually adjust the bridge height with your hands on the fly, no tools needed. And then underneath this ashtray here, which is just plugged in with these 2 little metal pegs straight into the wood, you have a very simple bent metal tailpiece. Not pretty, but it's effective, and they at least went to the extra effort to hide that sort of crude detail. We've got 2 strap buttons back here, not really sure why, but it's, you know, maybe some extra adjustment on the fly or just to keep it standing up straight without it falling over. And then the front strap button here, this is something I didn't notice right away, but it looks different than the other 2, and there's actually this knurled thumb screw design, and I looked a little closer and it's actually threaded into a body insert that you can unscrew here, and when you take it out, it's a little flathead screwdriver. How cool is that? We've got flathead screws on the pickguard as well as the pickup height adjustment. So I'm all about functionality. I can totally see myself pulling this out in, you know, maybe the intermission of a gig and adjusting a pickup height or something if I really had to. Kind of cool. I like seeing that kind of stuff. I believe this body is also plywood, and it's got this F-hole here. However, this is not a true hollow instrument. This is a solid body for sure. I'm not entirely sure how they constructed this. It must have had a top cap glued on at some point, but the chamber here ends just about a 1/4 inch beyond the lip of the F-hole here. And they even went through the trouble of putting a little piece of Tolex on the back of that cavity, maybe to darken it up to make it look deeper, to kind of enhance the effect of this being a semi-hollow instrument. Now the pickups here, these things sound great. We've got 2 blade style single coil pickups kind of in a Strat kind of housing, a little bit bigger than an actual, you know, Fender pickup, but nonetheless that kind of look. I was blown away by the sound of these pickups when I first plugged this bass in. And I should mention that this bass did not need a lot of setup. All these instruments that I feature usually need some amount of work. You know, some are just a quick setup or a fret level. I've had to do refrets on some of these. This bass really just needed a quick action adjustment and maybe a little 1/4 turn on the truss rod, and it was good to go. We've got a tone knob and a volume knob on this sort of, again, Stratocaster inspired control plate. And then a rotary switch, which is another really cool feature. It's an 8-position rotary. You can actually just keep turning it too. It doesn't stop. However, there's only 4 different pickup combinations and they just repeat once you get halfway around the knob. It's a little bit confusing and it's easy to get lost, but I guess it's another interesting feature. So in position 1, at least what I'm calling position 1, you have both pickups in parallel. Position 2 is the bridge pickup by its lonesome. Position 3, both pickups out of phase. Position 4, neck pickup, and then repeat around the horn. So let's run through the different tones of this instrument. I hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching.